Hi everybody, Jo here again. How are you doing? I hope you're doing okay. Thanks for popping in. It's our extra little catch up. It's Friday. Must admit I've struggled this week. I've had a lot of migraines, so it's just been one of those weeks. But I know we all get them. So, it is what it is. I've got a lovely big cold sore coming on my bottom lip as well. But I'm teaching tomorrow at Lavinia, so I might need to hide it. So if you're one of the ladies that are coming, please don't mention it. I don't know about you. I mean, I've suffered with cold sores all my life, but I have an immune disorder. And, you just feel like everybody just looks at them, not at you. But anyway, it is what it is. I'll just have to distract them, won't I? I might have to bribe them all with chocolate, take their eyes off me so they're watching the chocolate rather than me. Anyway, so today for our little catch-up, I'm going to come in with just an offcut, and we're going to make a little design, something similar to this. And the idea I've gone off is our challenge is Secret Garden. And I think for me, this is a lovely little herb garden in a wheelbarrow. So a wheelbarrow, not for taking soil from one part of the garden for another, but for making a beautiful little herb garden. And again, it's just using up an offcut, and this is 5 inches by 3 inches. And I love doing this. But one of the main reasons is when I was chatting with one of our lovely friends and followers, she was asking me about the difference between ink pads. So basically, and this is just a basic for our new friends and followers, a permanent ink, your Versafine Clair. There are others, but just we're keeping it very basic, just for what I tend to use on here. Keep it very simple. Versafine Clair means I can stamp with it. You can blend with it, but for me, when you're starting off, it's not designed to do it, so it's not as easy and it doesn't give us good results, in my opinion. So stick with this for your stamping, just to start off with. Comes in lots of different colours. That's your permanent ink. Then you have inks that move with water or react with water, and these you can have your elements, your distress, or your oxide. Now, to me, these do very, very similar things. They're made for blending. You can stamp with them. It won't be as crisp and clear as your Versafine Clair, and it will move with water. But the elements in its little makeup, in its recipe, doesn't have as much water, so it's perfect for your gel press. But Joanne was asking about when to use her oxides. Now, to me, I use oxides for some projects, I use elements for some projects. It really depends on what colour tones I want. And I've got to be honest, I mix the two. Now, I know in theory, Sir Tim says you should have a separate stencil brush for oxides and elements. I don't. I keep one per colour tone. So my blue one here, if I've used it on my elements and I want to then go and use an oxide, all I do is give it a bit of a wipe on a piece of kitchen roll, or I just use my Inky Binky, and then I won't contaminate the ink pads. If you want to buy a second set and you've got room to store them, by all means, that's what's suggested. But in practice, I don't. So today's little one, this little design, we're just going to use the oxides. So if you're somebody who's only got the oxides, we're going to be using Scorched Timber, Crushed Olive, Salvaged Patina, love this colour, and Ground Expresso. And I'm going to use them the same way. So if you have only elements, you can do exactly the same design, but with your elements, it's just the colour tones that will vary slightly. So I hope that makes sense. It's just a bit of a sort of a little overview, really. You know, I could go into depth a bit more, but I think just for today, that's all we need to know. You know, I'm all for just keep it simple. So, copy of paper. We're good if we had a clean piece, wouldn't it? For some reason, there we go, that's better. It's got a bit of a bend there, but anyway. We're going to start off by stamping the wheelbarrow. And I'm going to stamp this, as I say, Versafine Clair. And again, try and get in the habit of not putting your block on your piece of paper, because if you've got ink on there or water or anything, it'll transfer. So we'll stamp up in black. Now, I'm just using black for this today, but brown, if you wanted to make this into vintage tones, it would be lovely if you've got a male friend who's a gardener. And all I'm going to do is stamp that centre stage and let that ink soak in, lift up, beautiful. Now, what I have done, we'll just give that a bit of a blot. I do this, you know, I often put it in the middle like this. I've kept my thumb there because often then I have to flick through to see where it is. On a piece of copier paper, I've stamped it. Now, I could make a mask and cut it out, but I've got to be honest, when I've got a migraine, my eyesight goes a bit funny. I don't know about you, my eyes sort of flicker. So I just used copier paper and I've only cut the top bit. And that's going to almost form a temporary mask for now. But if you've got your masking sheets, you can use and cut yourself a full mask. Now, I'm thinking in here, I'm going to put the lovely herb garden sign. And I'm going to ink this up in the black as well. And just making sure I've got my mask there, look. And then we'll stamp this at a sort of jaunty angle. And then around it, I want some of the herbs. So the first one I'm going to come in with is the dill. Now, there's two on this, so we'll come in with the smaller one. And I'm going to use Avocado for this. So again, I'm stamping, so it's my Versafine Clair. And we'll just put a nice sort of spray of herbs. And again, I'm using first and second generation. And I just want to create that nice shape. Sort of like that. And if I lift that up, yeah, happy with that. And again, I'm just going to keep this one hand on here. And it's amazing how you get used to with one hand. So next, I'm going to come in with the Lilac Bloom. And for this, I'm going to use... Now, let me check what this... I think this is Thyme. And it's the larger one. There are two, but I've gone for the longer one. And it sort of reminds me of lavender. I know it's Thyme, and that's why I went for that sort of lilac-y lavendery tone. But again, I always say these are stamps, so you can have them, you can change the colours, you can see in them whatever you wish. And I just want to create a nice shape. Let me move that. Just need a little bit more purple there, don't I? So I'm just going to put that. Yes, I think that's a nice balance. And don't worry, we're going to add some pastel here to fuzzy that edge, so don't worry too much about that. Lastly, we'll come in with Sage, and I'm going to use Pinecone for this. So again, just make sure I pop that back on, because you know when I'm talking, I am likely to forget. And I just want a couple of these at the front, just to almost, it's a solid image, so I just want to add a bit of depth at the front, just to bring your eye to the front. Now I need a bit more look, I'm not happy with that. So do you know what, I'll ink it up again. So that just misstamped there. But if that happens, don't worry. We'll just put another one. There we go. Nobody will ever know. Looks like it's cascading over the front. So again, we'll give that a bit of a blot. Just because your Versafine Clair, permanent ink, but it's slow drying. So we'll give it a blot because we don't want to smudge it. And then, I mean, that'd be a lovely design for a tag. If you're giving somebody some plants or some herbs. And very quick to do. I mean, you could add maybe one of the little herbariums to the side of it. You know, just think you could make this into a much larger design, but we're just going to stick with this smaller bit for today. I'm just feeling I'm in that mood. It's got to be smaller today. So let's just ground our wheelbarrow, and we'll come in with the Scorched timber. And I treat this the same as I would all my other ink pads. So blend and just into the lid. And then I'm just going to start as I would under the wheelbarrow, because if I've got a lot of ink on and it's too dark, it'll just look like shadow. And then we'll blend along. If I want to check what it's like, lift it up, look. Yeah, maybe just go a bit darker under there. But happy with that, call that a day. I love Scorched timber. And then give that a wipe. As you know, it's important to put these things away clean. And then with the other hill masks, I want sort of the flatter one, as it were. And we're going to now move to crushed olive. And this is a lovely sort of yellowy green. And I'm just going to look where I think that would be a nice shape. I don't want to go sort of through the handle. So I'm thinking we'll have one there. That looks nice. Again, my green brush, blend in the lid. And just gently, gently bring some of that colour. And I tend to leave a bit of a space with the brown. I'm not going to go right down to the brown. It looks nice, almost that white gives it a sort of a better look. Yeah, happy with that. And again, I put mine to the side. I just find it's easier for me to blend. But again, you can do yours however you wish. But if I turn it round just so you can see how it's building up. Now I want a couple more hills, but you don't have to do them all together if you wish. So look, I can turn this round and I can think, oh, actually, I think it would look nice one over the whole thing. That would actually be a nice shape. So I'm not going to ink up anymore. I'm just going to take what's on my brush, look. Because I want it lighter, that'll help with perspective. And I like that, it almost makes a focal point of it. So let's just add another start of a hill here. And then the same on this side. And again, nice and light. Let's put the lid on that and have a look how we're looking. And note will be the same, but I suddenly saw that shape there and I like that. I mean, these would make lovely notelets or, you know, invitations. Say you were having a garden party or just inviting friends round to the garden for drinks. So we'll give that a clean and put those away. And then onto the circle masks. And we're going to use the smaller one. And again, I'm thinking straight away, that looks nice there between the two hills. I love that shape. So we'll turn it round. And this is where the Salvaged Patina comes in. And again, my blue brush, blend, and then in the lid. And again, start at the bottom. And then all the way round. I'm going to ink up again, but blend in the lid. And again, start on the mask. And then a bit here. And then once more, come from the corner. Ooh. Come from the corner in. And just blend. Go round the sign. And we'll turn it round. I love that. Let's just see. I'm not going to add any more ink. But let's just see if we've got enough. If I just, look, you can do that with your brush, just pinch it and just see if we've got enough to almost swipe a cloud across. There we go. And again, your brush, when you let go, look, it goes back to that lovely shape. But there we go. Can you see? Probably won't show up very well, but we've just got that cloud nice across there. So if you've not done that before, that's a lovely little trick. Give that a wipe and put it away. We're packing for my workshop in a couple of hours, ready for tomorrow, heading off to Rithing. So I need to make sure all these things are put away. It'll be easier if I know exactly where they are. So that's nice, but I like to frame. Now, you could leave it like this and matte and layer it, but I'm thinking let's frame it. And again, just to show you how these inks blend. Now, if I'm going for ground espresso, if you hadn't got a darker brown, you could maybe use henna or one of your elements. Again, just mix, just go for the colour tones you like. So I'm going to blend in the lid, and I'm going to start as always in the bottom corner, look. And then when I've got that colour, happy with it, along the bottom. Now that won't show up much because it's brown on brown. So this corner, and then up the side. And it looks lovely, the brown and the blue. If you want a combination, you know, when we drag the ink pad across, the Scorched Timber and the Salvaged Patina work really well together. Absolutely beautiful. So again, we'll bring that corner in. And then just drag that across here, just lightly across the top. And then into this corner. And down the side. Now it might be you've not used your oxides for a while. We do this, we tend to use, you know, if you've bought the new Elements ink colours, we almost tend to use the newer things, don't we? I'm just going to darken these corners a little. So it might be it's time to get your oxides out, that you haven't used them for a while. But I just love, I'm hoping you can see that colour combination. I'm going to pop the lid on. And I'm just going to clean this up. Now again, you could pop that on card, in your journal. Just for speed, I'll give it a clean. How's your weather today? Must admit, I felt so cold this week. I don't know if it's because I've been a bit tired, a bit under the weather, but I've been so cold. But today, it's a little bit warmer, thank goodness. We've got the sun. I mean, the sun was shining yesterday, but I was still very cold. Let's add some colour. So, the Mondeluz pencils, number 3, 29 and 32. So, just while I'm talking, and I could see people outside in tiny little summer tops, and oh, I was in my t-shirt, my sweatshirt, my gilet. I was so cold. Walking the boys to school this morning, I even had my gilet on. I was cold. So I hope you're nice and warm where you are. So again, with the colouring, it's that little cheats colouring, the yellow at the top, and then the dark brown at the bottom, and then the light brown in the middle, and then just blend them all in together. Just gives those nice tones. And we'll just put the medium colour down there. So we'll do a bit of wink of colouring, and this is just my clear wink of Stella. Start at the yellow, blend down into the brown, and then into the dark brown. And then I'll get a little bit of colour, so I'll just clean it on my copier paper. And then with our pastel pencils, so with the white, obviously we've got the moon here, so we're going to get a bit of white highlight on here, but also on the front here. So, and I'm just going to smudge that. Smudging does two things. I've mentioned this before. It helps to fix it, but also I think it actually looks better. So a little bit of smudging and a little bit of highlight. And then I'll just get the black. And we'll have some shadow under the wheelbarrow, but also you've got the moon there, so that'll come there, and this will just come that bit further because it's further away with that angle, but you will have it under the hole. So again, biodegradable cotton bud, and just smudge sideways. Like I say, it'll fix it, but also it'll just look, and I give it a blow. I don't want to do that, otherwise I'll get pastel on my hand and then we'll have it all over. So again, you see how that shadowing just really helps. Now, like I was saying here, for me, I've got a little bit of, can you see where my masking? So to get rid of that, let's look for a colour. So let's go for this green here. And if we just add it in with the lovely herbs and just give it a smudge, it just fills that space. And your pastel's fabulous for that. There we go. Just makes it look so much better, finishes it off. So now I've got some of the metallic pens, and again, every time I go to Lavinia, I pick myself up a different colour. So this is the copper and the blue. So what I thought is with the blue, now I've no idea what colour the flowers and sage. I know somebody did tell me, one of you lovely ladies actually wrote it, and you know, sorry, my head, I forgot. But I just thought I'm going to go for blue today. You know, it's a magical herb garden. So I just fancied some blue. And with the copper, I'm thinking the handle on my wheelbarrow look. And then also on this lovely stand here. And then the wheel, let's add a bit of copper to that. And then with the white, we'll just emphasise this white here. And then a little bit just down, maybe just a bit more on there. Don't want to overcook it. And then I'm just going to add some water splats. Now again, I know not everybody likes the water splats, so you could leave it like this. So I'm just going to get my fan brush and tap it in the corner, in that corner. And then for me, it's easier, just lift it up. Again, that corner. And that way, I've less chance of getting my water splats in the middle, because really, I just want them round the edges. So it's easy to just turn it round. And then we'll mop that up. And while that's blending in, now I don't want it to soak in too much. I don't want it bright white. I know it's faux bleaching, but I want this to look a little bit distressed, a little bit vintage. So I don't actually want it to go white as though it's been bleached out. I just want that lovely mottled colour tone. So I'm going to mop this up. A little tip as well, with your kitchen towel, just keep going to a clean area. If you pick some ink up from there where it's wet, you could contaminate it and move it round. So just keep going to a clean bit. And I love that. If I just show you, and to me that's enough. I just want that light faux bleach. I don't want it bright white. I like the vintagey tones. So we're going to add a little bit of glitter, just for this lovely herb garden. Stardust, and you know what I'm like. Oh, did you hear that? See, that would have been spitting on my work. Naughty, naughty. So, an empty wink of Stella for our Stickles, and then we're just going to paint this on. And we're just going to have it on all the lovely herbs, look. And this way I get it exactly where I want it, but also it will dry quicker. And in fact, I think I might just add a little bit down here, just over where we put that pastel. And it's magic this, because you'll find you always put just the right amount, look. And then back in the lid, that's fine, it'll be ready to go next time. Wipe that up. And then there is my beautiful little herb garden, and that's made with the oxides in the background. And now, look, I've got two fabulous toppers ready to use with my little secret herb garden. I hope you have a go at this. Again, you know, I keep saying I'm like a frustrated florist. I love to just come up with that shape, that design. I hope you have a go. Put some flowers in your wheelbarrow and just build yourself a gorgeous little garden. Now, is it going to be a secret garden, a herb garden, spring garden? For those of you going into autumn, you could have a lovely autumnal garden. I can't wait to see what you create. So I'm thinking it's actually sunny outside here now. It's probably warmed up in my garden enough. I can go out, have a cheeky little broom biscuit with Eric. And then I need to get my bags packed for tomorrow. And thanks for all the lovely well wishes. I had a charity online workshop on Saturday. And for those of you that have messaged me and asked, we raised £550 to give to the lovely charity that does the free evening workshops for adults with learning difficulties. So I'm so chuffed. So everybody that joined in, thank you very much. Right, better go. Have a lovely, lovely weekend. You take care of yourselves. And you know what? Keep watching, keep crafting, and best of all, keep smiling. Love and hugs from me. See you again next week. Bye for now.